the answer to your life's questions and to your business. Okay. So, but before I get into it, first, grateful that I can be on a walk, grateful that it's, beautiful weather outside. So I'm down in St. George, Utah. And I've kind of taken my family across the US a little bit. So graduated college, more northern Utah, went down to Austin, Texas for a few years, then up to northern Idaho, and then eastern Washington, then down in San Diego. And the one thing that we've realized that Amy and I really love is we love it when it's more warm. We don't necessarily love the cold. I mean, there's nothing wrong with snow and it's fun to play in it and everything. Not as much as an adult, right? Like when you have kids that you need to go and actually like put in all their gear, and then they want to go outside for like 10 minutes and then you take it all off, and then there's just this huge mess. It's just for people that deal with snow with kids, you know what I'm talking about. But it's one of those things that we've realized that we like the warmth, and so we're grateful to be down here, and it's just wonderful just to be able to go outside and walk and talk. And so, I'm excited to talk to you today about social media and how it may not be the silver bullet that you're looking for, right? And so just kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the problems right now. Like, first of all, you may feel like that you need to post on social media all the time, right? That's what you have to do. That's your key to success, right? And there is a lot of power in publishing, okay? So publishing meaning that you are producing content. If you love blogging, if you love, doing a podcast, if you love these different things like that people are there and are consuming that, right? You're consuming this right now. So it's not something that's necessarily a bad thing overall, but it's not necessarily going to solve all your problems. And here's a couple reasons why, okay? So, first of all, I guess, think about, why is it that you feel like you need to post all the time? Or why do you feel like there's this push that, oh yeah, if I have a real business, I need a website, I need social media, right? Like you just have to do that, but I just want you to think really quick about how things, the percent of people that are actually going to see your content online. And it's gone down and down over the years, right? Because if you think about it, like, I'm a software engineer. I've built apps and websites and all sorts of stuff like that, right? So if I'm building, Facebook algorithm, let's say there's, we're just starting out. Everyone has like 50 friends, right? So showing posts from 50 different people to me is not a big deal, right? Like there's only 50, they're not posting all the time. And so it's something that you can see, oh, hey, here's a post, here's this post. Like it's easier to aggregate those things, right? But how many friends do you have on Facebook? How many followers do you have on Instagram? And how many how many followers do you actually follow as well, right? And think about the problem on the technology side about how do you possibly show, let's say you have, 500, 1,000, even more, followers that you're following, or I guess, you know what I mean, but, or friends that you have. How is the algorithm going to show all of that? If everyone posted the same time, every day, how are you actually going to see all those, right? Facebook, social media in general, they have to figure out how are we going to prioritize this content so that people are going to stay on our platform. They are going to click on ads. They're going to do those type of things, right? They have their own agenda, right? And that's part of the reason why we all feel like, oh, we need to be posting and we need to be doing these things, is because, these are big companies that have ingrained that in us, right? Like they have, I wonder about this. So we were up in northern Michigan, so up in the Upper Peninsula, and we were at this like old ski lift. So it's no longer working. They're still kind of running it, during the summer, so you can go and like see this huge ski jump. And so we're going up there, and I just remember walking into the store because they had kind of a little where you get the tickets and they have, some merchandise and things. And I remember going there and just seeing on the window, there's a little, flyer there. And it's like, oh, social media. Here's a Facebook icon. Here's Instagram. Here's this, right? And so they're like encouraging you to go and and go follow them on Facebook and on Twitter and all that type of stuff, right? But it's interesting though, because that's what the social media companies have continued to press and to continue to push out, right? So that everyone will say, hey, you should promote us so that, we can help you out. And again, there's value in social media. And so I'm not saying that it's, it's all bad, but it's not necessarily going to solve all of your problems, right? It's really important to understand what exactly is my goal when I'm using social media, right, for my business. So if I'm trying to get in front of new people, I really need to have the correct strategy, because each platform is going to have its own goal. And a lot of times it's to be able to run ads, right? They want to be able to show ads to all of their people, and they want people to stay on their platform as long as possible. And so that's really their goal. And if you look at the actual numbers, it's actually only like 2% of your followers are actually going to see your content, right? So now just do a little bit of math and think about how many followers would you need to have so that they actually are going to make a difference in your business, right? You make a post, how many people is that going to go in front of, right? So let's say, if you have 1 million followers, 1 to 2% is huge, right? That's a big number. So it's easy to say, hey, this is great. I'll make this post, and then we have people that are going to go see my products and services. They'll interact, and they'll continue to do that, right? And so that's one of the catches, right, with social media is most of us don't have 1 million followers. And so we can't rely on that, because the conversion, to an actual product or sales is going to be so low, right? And so that's the one thing that it's really important to remember. And there's different techniques as well, as far as like what you're actually doing on social media, right? Like if you are just going to be, you don't necessarily want to just be posting links to your stuff all the time. Like, oh, hey, go check out my website, go check out, this thing that I'm doing, all these things. That's not exactly what social media is there for. You need to be able to build these connections with people, and that type of stuff. But I just bring that up because I think there's a lot of people that believe that, man, if I can just get those 1 million followers or 10,000 followers or whatever, I'll be set, right? I'll be set and everything will work out, right? I can just make a post and everything just blows up and it's all amazing, right? But it's not necessarily like that, right? Because again, the number of people that are going to see your content is not going to be millions of people, right? It's not going to be 100% of your follower count. And you've seen that, right? I know that you've seen that because you've made a post and you're like, okay, maybe I have 500,000 followers or maybe even more. And then sometimes nothing really happens, right? And it takes a lot of work, and you got to continue to do it. And so the reason I bring that up is because it's really important. If you, maybe you do have a huge following and you're getting a lot of engagement and you're doing that, then you should continue to do that. And if you don't, you should work towards that. But I just want you to think that there's things that you can do to accelerate your progress in that way, right? If you really want to get more engagement on social media, then first of all, understand why you're trying to do that, right? Because a lot of times it's not the actual number of followers that really matters, right? It's important that people are actually engaged. And then in the end, what a lot of people are driving at is to actually get emails, right? That they want to get emails from their followers, so then they can actually send them emails about their products and services, and they have this much, tighter, the relationship with them, and deeper relationship. And so if that just really, before you go all in and say, okay, I'm just gonna post every day and do all these things, really understand what is your goal for doing that before you invest tons of your time in doing that. And assuming that you do want to do that, what's really powerful is this concept that there's already people that want to be your followers. They already exist, right? You have similar services, similar products to other people, right? And so it's important for you to go and look out and find who are they already following, right? And then be able to figure out, how do I best work with that person or these people, right? To be able to then grow my influence, right? Because if there's someone that's really famous and has a lot of followers, then they, the people that they interact with, it's meaning other influencers that interact with them, then their following starts to see them, a percentage of them are being like, oh wow, I really like this person, and so I'm going to go and do that. And so what I wanted to briefly introduce here is the concept of a summit. Okay, so a summit is where you put on an event and you bring together, influencers and experts that will, hopefully help promote your event. And so what's important with that is, I won't get into too much of that because I feel like we could talk all day about, a summit, but with a summit is what you're doing is you're actually bringing together, multiple people. Typically it's, anywhere from 10 to 30 people. And you do this interview series, right? Where you're interviewing them and then you put together this event where then they help promote, you promote, and then you bring all these people together, right? So if you imagine, maybe on average there's 10,000 followers or, 5,000 on the email list or whatever, right? Well, if you have 30 people that you brought together, that's 300,000 potential people to come to that, right? And so putting on some sort of event with these other influencers is a way to skyrocket, your presence on social media or your business, right? And so it's a much faster way for you to potentially get followers, but to also especially get get more people on your email list to be able to grow and scale your business, to have more people that you can communicate with and that are very interested in the things that you are doing as well. And so that's just what I wanted to bring up today is, again, social media is not necessarily going to be the silver bullet, right? And it's really important to kind of understand your goals and what are your purpose behind doing it, right? Again, that the relationships you're building with people on social media is huge. And there's a lot of good things about it, but really take a minute to just think about what exactly are my goals in doing that, right? And what exactly am I going to do to then achieve those goals, right? And working with other people in your space is a huge way to do that. If you can really get some relationships with people that already have your audience, then that is the best thing to do. And that's why a summit is a great way to do that. And I'll dive into this on another episode to be able to really dive into what is a summit and how do you really use that in your business, because it's been huge for me, huge for so many people, and especially when you don't have a huge audience, right? It's just a huge way to do that. You can establish credibility and so many other things. And so more on that in another episode, but really just wanted to bring that up. Make sure that you understand what your goal is and where you're heading, and you can continue to get there. So always remember that your vision is truly the greatest asset that you have. And so really being able to look at where you want to go and what you want to do, that's really going to be key for you. And so that's, especially even with social media, it's really important. So anyways, thanks for tuning in.